Hey Mets fans, welcome back to the channel, and we have some fairly breaking news here to announce. Now, normally I wouldn't talk about certain things like this, but I think it's important because of how all of us Mets fans have been invested in wanting to make sure that George Springer lands with the Mets. And earlier today, through Andy Martino and SNY, and these are some things that we have to take to a grain of salt to an extent, and I have my fair reasons, I'm sure you guys do too, but the reports are indicating that George Springer is looking for at least $150 million, which on the forefront is a bargain of a contract for his caliber. Even at the age of 31, George Springer is only 1 year removed from 39 home runs and just under 100 RBIs, batting just around, I believe, 292 or so. And this past season, the short season, he had a strong season as well, even though he was around a 260 plus average, including 14 home runs and 32 RBIs. But still, George Springer, we all want him to land with the Mets, and it feels inevitable. And now we are getting that much closer, if you ask me, because the reports are indicating through Mets Mesmerize as well. And if I can find that, I will definitely make sure I'll pull that up right down here. We're explaining their article earlier today how Andy Martino did, of course, state that Springer is looking for at least 150 million, maybe well over 150 million. I'm not putting too much stock into that, honestly. I'm going to just put around 150 million. I think we can all agree on a 5 to 6 year deal. And the reports from Mesmerize, at least from what their indicators are, at least from what they have been hearing from their reputable sources, at least we would hope, is that the disconnect between the Mets and Springer is on that 1 year. Springer is apparently very adamant, looking for around 6 years, and I don't blame him for wanting that. And the Mets are holding firm, standing firm around 4 years. So my assumption would be that the Mets are going to land George Springer fairly soon, and it's going to be right in that 5 year range with a club option maybe after the 5th year. So you're looking at a guy that's going to be making over 20 mil a year, it would seem, around that $150 million contract, and I think that would be perfect for the Mets. Seriously, even though, yes, he's looking for 6, and why wouldn't he? He's going to look for as long of a contract as he possibly can. This is George Springer, the guy who's never had this kind of payday in his life before, now being the biggest one of, if not the biggest name in all of free agency outside of Trevor Bauer, for instance. Might add Trevor Bauer as well, just a day ago now, was reported to be looking for around 200 plus million for 5 to 6 years. I think he's going to sign a multi-year deal. Is it going to be well worth around 200? I'm not sure. He's looking for upwards of 35 plus mil a year, and John Heyman and himself are going back at it because Heyman originally reported. We know John Heyman, he's another guy, will tell, you know, regardless how you feel about him, he's another that's been fairly controversial with reporting. And, you know, then we have Trevor Bauer that goes out and basically calls out John Heyman, and then with his agent and everything in between. It's funny when they go back and forth. I truly enjoy the entertainment, to say the least. But regardless, I want to focus more on Springer here, because we at least know that this Springer has been the most coveted guy for the Mets in free agency. At least that's what all the reports would indicate. People are buying the house, buying the farm, buying the cars, everything, that Springer is going to land with the Mets, and I'm a firm believer in that as well. So, and now we see SNY earlier today also say how all parties are under the belief that this could go well into January, late January, before Springer is signed. I honestly don't believe that for 1 second, and look, I very well could be wrong. If we get into late January and then Springer signs with the Mets or another team, then hey, I'm wrong. But I respectfully disagree with their report here, because let's be real, over the past year, the average date for all the big names in free agency for winter meetings were signed around January 1st. 2 years ago, and courtesy Anthony DeComo for putting this out there on Twitter a couple days ago, and has been for the past month. But 2 years ago, in the 2018 MLB free agency, the average players for all the biggest names being signed weren't signed until January 10th. So even if this thing pushes off until the second week of January, the likelihood of it going far into January is slim to none, if you ask me. So don't put much stock into that, guys. But I just want to get that out there. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below, because George Springer, we've all been wanting to see him in a Mets uniform, and it feels inevitable at this point. We've talked about him in my live stream last night. I'll be doing another live stream tonight that I'll be touching on in a second. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing what this is going to turn out to for the Mets. It feels like the Mets are really honing in on Springer. Now just a matter of finalizing those little details. If it's a 1 year difference, they're going to figure it out, I assure you. And the Mets are going to hold firm because they want to make sure that they don't commit too long term to a player that realistically is going to probably be in his prime for a couple more years, and then the latter half of that contract, maybe the last 2 seasons at least, are not going to look as great, because he's probably not going to be performing at that high of a level into his mid to late 30s. Let's be real here. So I understand the Mets wanting to hold firm, but they also need to make sure that they do everything they can to land Springer because of the immediate hole he would fill in that center field. And your counter might be, yes, Springer's only played what, certain amount of innings and games in center field, it doesn't matter. He's still a huge upgrade over Brandon Nimmo. Now, I love Brandon Nimmo, Mr. Smile, the happiest man in baseball outside of Francisco Lindor, right? But the reality is that George Springer is a superior outfielder that brings so much to the lineup, both in the outfield and the infield, and it's about time things get done. And I'm firmly under the belief that over this next week, we're finally going to see some of these signings come to fruition. And look, if I'm wrong, then you can come back here and call me out. That's perfectly fine. That's just truly my belief from all the reporting, even with SNY maybe countering me here and saying that's going to go into the latter half of January possibly. I honestly don't buy that for one bit. So as always, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this news with George Springer? Do you think 150 million for 5 years and then an option after the 5th year is strong? I think that's perfect for the Mets if you ask me, and it's a bargain contract given what you would get a guy for him. Like, honestly, 150 million, I know it's a ridiculous amount of money, but for his caliber, even at this point in his career, it is still well worth it if you're asking for my personal opinion. And also, guys, stay tuned for my live stream I will be doing tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We will be discussing the New York Mets and their trade options, of course, for the 2020 MLB offseason as well. We'll be breaking down everything there is to know about the Mets approach to the offseason, but in particular, I want to hone in on some trade options that we already discussed previously here on the channel. So stay tuned for all that. I hope to see you all guys all there. We had a great time in our live stream last night. I'm looking forward to the many live streams ahead. So thank you all so much, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like, hit subscribe, share this video with friends if you're new to the channel and you want to see more great Mets content like this. And I'll catch you all again next time.